House of the Dragon Season 2 comes out this weekend, and I could not be more excited. So to celebrate, I thought it'd be a lot of fun to make a bunch of the characters from the show in LEGO. We're going to be making both sides of the Civil War, and some of the characters from Season 1 that are no longer with us. Not only that, but we'll also be building my personal favorite dragon, Sea Smoke. We've got over 20 minifigs and a dragon to go over in this video, so let's get right into it. To start, let's make the sea snake himself, Corlys Velaryon. Corlys has been one of my favorite characters in the whole history of Westeros ever since Fire and Blood first came out. So for my LEGO version, I've taken some blue parts and this sand blue cape that matches House Velaryon's colors really well. For his head and hair, I've come up with this combination of parts that I think looks just about perfect for the show version of Corlys. Now, as you might expect, LEGO's parts catalog of black hairstyles is pretty limited in the platinum blonde color, but thankfully this piece that was originally for Saruman looks really great. And to finish off Corlys, I'm going to give him an axe that I made based on what we saw him using in Season 1. I am super happy with how he turned out, but now we need to make some House Valyrian knights to go with him. For these guys, I took a lot of the footage from Season 1 and came up with this mix of parts. Obviously, we're using more sand blue, as that color is a near perfect match, and I've also made a little banner with this flag that I think is kinda close to the seahorse sigil of House Valyrian. Of course it's not exactly right, but I think it does the job well enough. Now, having this mix of characters together makes me really want to do a mock of the War for the Stepstones that we saw in Season 1. I feel like it'd be a really fun idea for a mock, and since we'll be building Sea Smoke later in the video, that's one out of the 2 dragons we need for it. But anyways, let's now move on to our next set of figs. I think I can speak for most people when saying that Daemon is one of my favorite characters from the Dance of Dragons. And Matt Smith's performance stole away so many of the scenes from the first half of Season 1, so to make him in LEGO, I'm going to be using some classic Red Dragon Knight parts that I'll add this helmet to that looks a lot like the one that he used during the joust in the first episode of the show. That whole jousting sequence was such a terrific introduction of his character, and the winged helmet that he was wearing was so memorable. Thankfully, LEGO just came out with this piece earlier this year, and it works great for a custom Daemon minifig. But if you want to make him without his helmet, I would highly recommend you buy the Doctor Who minifig of him that gives you a perfect screen-accurate face of Matt Smith. Now, this minifigure is going to cost you around $30, so maybe you want to try and find a good deal for just the head on Bricklink. So to go with Daemon, I think we should also make a couple of Targaryen knights. These guys have some red dragon torsos, and we're also given some black capes to match. For how simple they are, I am really happy with how they look, and they honestly aren't that expensive to make compared to some of the others that we'll be making today. Okay, now before we make Sir Criston Cole and some green loyalists, I'd first like to make Alicent and Helaena. Alicent is actually pretty easy to make, as you really only need a dark green dress of your choice and this brown hairpiece. But Helaena, on the other hand, is really hard to get right. Helaena has a very somber expression most of the time, and finding a face print in LEGO to match that is pretty difficult. In the end, I went with this face, which is more of an annoyed look, but it's close enough. Now, the easiest part about making this fig was the outfit. We almost exclusively see her wearing gold and green in the show, so these parts from Lord of the Rings works really well here. And actually, the pattern on her dress in the reference image matches really well with this LEGO print. Overall, I think Alicent and her daughter both look recognizable, but could definitely be improved with a couple of parts swapped out. I'd love to hear any suggestions if you know of a better piece in the comments below. But moving on, let's now make the 2 brothers Aemond and Aegon. For both of them, I'm going to be going with their battle looks, so they'll both get a different dark green dragon armor and some capes to match. As for the faces, I think you have a lot of really good options for Aegon, but Aemond really only has one, that being the Kylo Ren face. It's one of the very few scarred eye prints in LEGO, and the dark sunken look around the pupils works really well for Aemond. Now, the one that I have does give him a bit of a goofy look because of the mouth, but if you have literally any other Kylo Ren figure, you'll be fine. And the obvious hair for Aemond is of course the long, slicked back white hair. Now for Aegon, like I said, you could go with a lot of different face prints and I think they'll look really good. I ended up going with this one because I love how the crown print looks, and since we mostly see him wearing the Conqueror's crown, I think it makes sense to have him have it in the LEGO version. And for the hair, I've decided to use this one, but a more accurate one would definitely be this piece. I just don't have it in white as of right now. Okay, now that we've made quite a few members of Team Green, I think it's time we show Team Black some love. One of the characters that I'm most excited to see in Season 2 has to be Cregan Stark, so let's make him and Jacaerys next. First up is Cregan. I've given him some fur-lined armor and a dark brown cape. And for his face, I'm using the Robert Pattinson Batman one, as I think it's the closest looking face I have to Cregan's actor. I actually think the expression is pretty dead on for a lot of the footage that I've seen, but unfortunately there's not a Lego sword big enough to even come close to ice. But if you wanted to, you could try and attach the Narsil hilt to his back to try and emulate how he wears it in the show. It's definitely not perfect though. Either way, I am really happy with how he turned out looking, and again, I really can't wait to see how he's portrayed in the new season. Anyways, next up is Jace. I've taken some robe-like prints and a black cape for the base of him, that I've then added on this serious looking face that I think will work really well for an older Jaehaerys. He's definitely not a perfect fig by any means, but he looks pretty close to what we see him in Season 2. Okay, next up we should make Rhaenyra and Rhaenys. For Rhaenyra, I've mismatched some different dress parts and given her this double-sided cape. For her hair, I couldn't quite decide on what hairstyle to go for, but I think this one is the closest to how we see her a lot in Season 1 and in the new trailers. Now, I really wanted to make Syrax to go with her, but I just didn't have the parts in the right colors to do it. Syrax is probably my second favorite dragon of this era, so if you'd like to see that in another video, please let me know in the comments. I just had a lot of fun making Sea Smoke later in this video, and I'd love to make another one sometime soon. But anywho, now we need to make Rhaenys. In the trailer for Season 2, we see Rhaenys wearing this really sick looking Targaryen armor, so I've tried to emulate that with these shoulder pads and a chainmail torso. And for her face, I found this one that I think works really well, and it even has a screaming / battle ready face as the secondary one. I think these two ended up looking really nice, and I wish I could have done all of Rhaenys' kids and grandkids, but the hair pieces just don't really exist for me to do it. Anyways, let's now make the rest of Team Green before moving on to some of the dead Season 1 characters. First up, Sir Criston Cole. I've made him with a lot of silver decorated armor pieces, and of course have given him a white cloak. I think this bit of armor does a really nice job at representing the Kingsguard that we see in the show. The face that I've chosen for him is this one. It's not exactly right because I feel like he should be a bit tanner and have some stubble on him, but I unfortunately just don't have a piece like that. Now, to make him look like his Season 1 appearance, you could give him this longer hairpiece, or a shorter one for his new look in the Season 2 trailers. Now, to go with Sir Criston, I've made some green loyalist knights, bearing chrome helmets and the golden dragon of Aegon II on their chests. Again, making these basic soldiers is so much fun because LEGO already has the perfect pieces to make both the blacks and the greens without any custom parts. Now, army building these guys would definitely get expensive, but you could totally get enough of them to build a really cool battle scene, which is something that I may or may not be doing after Season 2 wraps up. Okay, next we've got to do Otto Hightower. I found this torso that is genuinely perfect for Otto. It looks a lot like this outfit that he wore, and it even has some dark green throw in to show that Hightower lineage. For his face, I've given him one from Radagast the Brown, as I think it's the closest one that I have to Otto. And for the hair, I've used this receding hairline piece that works pretty well. It's a little too much hair to be honest with you, but again, we're working with LEGO's already made pieces here. I think he turned out looking surprisingly good, especially because I didn't think making him would even be possible going into this video. Okay, so now let's start making some Season 1 characters, and then we'll finish off the video by building Sea Smoke. First up, we've gotta do Viserys. Paddy Considine put out an insane performance in Season 1 of the show, and this video would not be complete without at least attempting to make him in LEGO. I mean, if you didn't get misty-eyed at least one of his scenes, I don't know what to say. But anyways, let's make the actual figure ready. I've taken a mix of dark red dress pieces, and I think they look a lot like some of the ones that we see him wear in the show. And for the head and hair, I've taken the old Luke head that has a pretty concerned look on his face, which definitely works. Alternatively, you could try using this masked print, which kind of looks like a mask of someone with leprosy, but it's not perfect. Next up, we've got to make maybe the only level-headed person in the show, Lionel Strong, Hand of the King. Now for Lionel, I've taken a mix of Star Wars and Lord of the Rings parts to make his tunic. And I've given him this Qui-Gon head that looks pretty good for the younger version of Lionel that we see. The receded hair that we gave to Otto would probably work better here, but I don't have it in brown right now. But next to each other, I think both of them are pretty recognizable. Okay, now our next character is probably the most important character in the entire Dance of the Dragons. None other than the ambitious and headstrong Vaemond Valyrian. Okay, seriously though, the next one we're making is one of my favorites, Sir Harwin Strong. I'm trying to do his City Watch gold cloaks look, so I've given him this yellow cape and some shoulder armor that I think looks perfect for Harwin. You could even do a City Watch version of Daemon by using these same parts. I honestly think this figure most resembles his show counterpart out of any of the other figs we've made today. I really love how he turned out, and I'm probably going to be displaying this fig for a while now. I just really like how this fig turned out. Okay, next up we've got Harwin's son, Lucerys Valyrian. Now for Luke, I wanted him to wear his Valyrian colors instead of the Targaryen ones that we see him wear at the end of the show. So I've given him some more sand blue clothes to match his grandfather's house. I just really found Corlys and his relationship really sweet in the show, and it made his death even sadder. Okay, so now we are ready to finally build Sea Smoke and a couple of figs to go with him. So this was my first time ever building a dragon, and what I learned is that you need a lot of ball joints. Because without them, you can't pose the dragon, and they end up looking really stiff. So I started off first by building his head, and this by far was one of the trickiest parts of the whole mock. We don't have a lot of close-up footage of Sea Smoke, so getting the details right can be a bit of a challenge. The most important part that I wanted to get right though was the horns on the back of his head. They are the most striking feature he has, so I really wanted to focus in on that. I came up with this head after a lot of trial and error, and I mean a lot, and I have to say, I am really happy with it. The horns were made with a couple of different white pieces, and they look really similar to what we see in the show. And I think I got the overall shaping of his head done pretty well. And we can simply attach his head and neck together with some ball joints. I've detailed the neck with some cheese slopes, and they do a pretty good job of looking like scales. Now, since his body is mostly covered by wings, I didn't want to waste a lot of pieces on detailing it. The wings I've taken directly from a Ninjago dragon set, and I've turned them upside down so that we can just see the white of them. I'm sure you could find a better set of printed wings out there, but I made do with what I have. I always think it's better to build with what you have instead of ordering something new that works better. You'll not only save a lot of money doing this, but you'll also have to overcome the limitations of your own parts collection, which is a really fun creative challenge. And I also think it helps you grow as a mock builder. So now that the middle bit is done, we've got to do his legs and tail. I've taken the legs from the same set as the wings, and I've decorated them with some white and gray details that better match Sea Smoke. Again, all of these sections are connected by ball joints so that everything can be posed. As you'd expect, the more joints you have, the better posability you get. But just try and pay attention to the weight of each section because they can slump down if they're too heavy. So for the tail, I've combined a bunch of sections together that I decorated with cheese slopes. These do a great job of looking like scales, and I think they make for a really nice looking tail. These are all connected together with a special kind of piece that I believe is used for Lego trains, but they work great for dragon tails because of how fluidly they move. So now, Sea Smoke is completely done. I really love how he turned out in the end, because I was really worried that I wasn't going to be able to make a custom dragon in Lego for this video. But to my surprise, I was able to finish the mock in less than a day. Okay, now let's make our last two figs to go with Sea Smoke. As we all know, if you're still watching this video, Rhaenys and his lover Carl left in a boat to Essos in the last season. So I've made Rhaenys and Carl in the cloaks that we see them leave in, and I've also given them the same boat from the scene. I don't know, but I'm just so excited for the show to be back, and I really hope you all enjoyed this video, and me geeking out over A Song of Ice and Fire. I make a ton of LEGO medieval videos, so if you enjoyed this video, why not subscribe? I'm sure I'll be making another House of the Dragon video at some point. And as always, thank you so much for watching.